I just came out of it, I was late. But they're pretty expensive programs to compare to replacing just a battery when you need it.
Senator Sheldon.
So consider House Bill, would this be like if I bought a new car and took it home and changed the oil, then brought it back to the dealer and asked them to do some work for me, they'd refuse because I touched the car?
Pretty much, yeah. You have to use a factory authorized filter and all that, and have their factory authorized mechanic do the filter, yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, appreciate it. Thanks for your sponsorship of this bill. All right, great. So with that, we have a couple out-of-town guests. We're going to start with Olivia Webb, Adrian Avery Johnson, Louise Rossman, and Adele Pomeroy. Following that group, come on up and testify. That group, they might be in the other room as well. And then following that group, we'll invite Trevor Browns and Howell from Catherine Gunter. Come on up, please. Thank you so much.
You have to go up. I think they want you to go up. Just go.
Good morning, welcome. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Webb, and I am here in support of Senate Bill 5799. I work at the company iFixit in San Luis Obispo, California, which creates repair guides and provides parts and tools to regular people who would like to fix their electronic devices. We are based in California, but we are a global company, and just in 2019, over 1.3 million people in the state of Washington accessed iFixit to look for information on how to repair their devices. People want to repair their devices, but the manufacturers make it really difficult for them. They can't access repair information, it's hard to find original parts, so they either turn to third-party people like iFixit or to Chinese manufacturers, which are often of questionable quality. The manufacturers will tell you that there are issues of safety and security when it comes to repairing your own devices, but millions of people have done it using iFixit tools, and they tell us their stories every day. Before I worked at iFixit, I had very little repair knowledge, but I have successfully repaired several devices, including my sister's phone. The repair was successful, but since we didn't have an OEM part, it ended up failing anyway. So hopefully this shows you that people want to repair their devices, they want access to the information and tools, but the manufacturers are making it difficult. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And again, since all of you traveled a bit, I'm happy to extra time to finish, complete your thoughts. Please, good morning. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. My name is Adele Pomeroy. I'm the Digital Inclusion Manager at FreeGeek in Portland, Oregon. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chair and Committee members, for being here. I have my computer with me because it has my brain on it right now. Feeling a little nervous. I'm here to support Senate Bill 5799. My organization, our mission is to bridge and close the digital divide, which is basically the gap between the folks who have basic digital literacy skills, devices, and broadband internet, and those who do not. The gap affects many people, children, rural families, folks with disabilities, mostly, I would say, our most vulnerable communities. We, as an organization, refurbish technology that's donated to us, and in the process of refurbishment, we often have to reverse engineer things. With every new type of device that we receive, we often break devices in order to understand them. It's not logical, it's unnecessary, and very challenging, and a waste of our resources as a nonprofit. If we did have this right to repair bill pass, we would have a lot more access to refurbishing technology and be able to serve our community more and give more devices to the vulnerable communities that need them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Carlisle and members of the committee. My name is Adrian Avery Johnson, and I'm here in support of SB 5799. I own a repair shop in Portland, Oregon. We've helped hundreds of Washington State residents to keep their devices working when authorized service providers have failed to do so. We suffer from a lack of schematics, diagnostic tools, parts, and service documentation. A large amount of my time is spent identifying and sourcing replacement parts. Having a schematic would allow me to keep more devices working for longer. Yesterday, a customer brought me a Kindle, a MacBook, and a Garmin for repair. All these devices had damaged USB ports thanks to their daughter's fascination with oatmeal. When they contacted authorized repair centers, they were told that device replacement was their only option. These devices had $2,000 and I was able to
You should
repair
be
them
speaking soon, you
for
guys.
less than the cost of a replacement tablet. The function of a USB port is to attach to a device.
We should be
It's
speaking
not a
soon.
trade secret, it's just a piece of plastic and a piece of metal bent into a specific shape. Many other components like chips that control charging, and they're also standardized, but supplies artificially restricted after they've been identified. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Good morning, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Louis Rossman with Rossman Repair Group. I've been traveling around the country to these right to repair hearings, and there's two main pieces of criticism that I wanted to address while I was here today. The first is that this bill is a solution in search of a problem, that there isn't a problem. So I just wanted to contrast the way repair worked about 50 to 70 years ago to now. So 50 to 70 years ago, if you opened up the electronics in your house or an appliance, there'd be a schematic on it that says how it's put together. And if you needed parts, you could either contact the company that manufactured it, and even if they didn't make the product anymore, they would usually tell you where to get the parts. Fast forward to today. A few years ago, if I wanted to buy a charging chip, so let's say a MacBook laptop, I could buy that for $5 or $10, and then I can fix it. Now, in 2018, Apple released a different machine, and it uses almost the same charging chip. They changed one thing, the address that it speaks to the rest of the computer on. And I can't buy that chip. Well, they told Intersil, the company that makes it, only sell this chip to us. So when I contact any electronics reseller, they say, I'm sorry, we can't sell it to you. This means that rather than paying me to fix the machine or anybody else, your only option is to go to Apple and have this $3,000 or $4,000 device fixed by them for $1,500. Further, when they do that, they erase all of your data, and that's the only option. So when people say that this bill is a solution in search of a problem, I've had thousands of customers that want their data back that disagree. The way that I get this chip right now is I actually have to buy an iPhone battery charging case that costs $129 and has a battery, rip it apart, take that chip off because they use that same chip in a battery charging case, and then dispose of the battery as e-waste, which is a complete waste. The second is that there are many dangers involved if you have unauthorized people work on these products. And this reminds me of an AutoZone commercial that one of my employees is a mechanic, he showed it to me. It's called I Did It. It came out just last year, and it has about 3 or 4 different groups of people that are each working on a car. Most memorable to me is you have a mom and daughter team, they're lifting a car up on the jack and they're trying to figure out how to do it for the first time in this AutoZone commercial, and they replace the brakes on it and they're so excited when they finish. They just took a 4,000-pound hunk of metal that they don't know how it works and replaced the thing that allows it to stop from going 70 miles an hour. But we're telling people that they may break and destroy and terrible things will happen if they replace the battery in a phone. And that just, it doesn't sound right to me. And that's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns regarding the bill.
Thank you very much. Questions for our guests? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for joining us. Invite the next panel up. And then following this next panel, we'll invite Bob Akers, Tara Wheeler, Sally Wolf, and Owen Rebel. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I am Charlie Brown. I'm here today on behalf of the Consumer Technology Association. We are opposed to Senate Bill 5799. I emailed to all of you members and staff a copy of a letter that includes a number of trade associations that also oppose this legislation, and you'll hear from several of them here this morning. We believe that Senate Bill 5799 is an intervention in private contractual relationships between manufacturers and their repair networks. We don't believe that the legislature should pass this legislation without considering the unintended consequences. We work with our authorized repair networks to ensure the high safety standards for these electronic equipment. I'm sure that all of you have heard about lithium-ion batteries and the potential problems that can cause when they are not connected properly to a device. So that's why we have authorized networks to make sure that they are being done properly. We also believe that the bill fails to account for the wide range of repair and refurbishment options that are currently available to Washington consumers by both manufacturer authorized as well as independent repair providers. We also believe that there are some inaccurate assumptions behind this legislation in terms of reducing the electronic waste that which actually they say by encouraging repair, and as all of you know, We have one of the most robust electronic waste repair networks that the consumer companies operate here in the state of Washington. So we would be happy to discuss this with you further, but I have to say that at this point, with the language that's in this legislation, we absolutely oppose this bill. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Chair Carlisle, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Samantha Kerschel, and I'm the Executive Director for TechNet here in Washington in the Northwest. Respectfully, we are testifying in opposition to Senate Bill 5799 today. We believe this legislation is in search of a problem that does not exist. Consumers in this country already have a choice when it comes to who repairs their devices, and thousands of authorized repair facilities compete for consumers' business each day. Technology companies have every incentive to ensure their customers have ample opportunity to get their products repaired, and in fact, our brands depend on being able to provide superior customer service. Technology companies must be able to manage their repair networks in order to provide adequate training and accountability, which leads to safe and effective repairs. The groups pushing for this in states across the country stand to profit greatly by passing this legislation under the guise of consumer protection. TechNet's main concern with this bill pertains to intellectual property. We fear that once a manufacturer loses their control and ability to repair the devices that they alone develop and produce, their intellectual property is at enormous risk. And I will provide these comments to you in written form as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, welcome, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Chairman Carlisle and the committee. My name is Catherine Gunter, and I'm the Director of State Government Affairs at the Entertainment Software Association. I'm also here to speak in opposition to SB 5799. The ESA is a trade association that represents companies that publish video games for an assortment of consumer devices, including video game consoles. The makers of all three consoles, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, are members of ESA. We recognize that this is a very important public policy issue, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. In advance of the testimony, we also issued our formal opposition letter via email, and we believe that this mandatory right to repair is unnecessary, unwarranted, and harmful to the video game industry. I'd like to emphasize that game console makers are committed to providing consumers with repairs that are affordable, quick, and secure. Frankly, the industry doesn't make any money off of these broken devices, and thus we offer many options if a console needs to be repaired. All three companies also offer repair services that are after the warranty period. Carrying on, video game publishers rely upon secure media environments of the game console to protect their safeguards against sophisticated theft or piracy. To help the piracy, video game software and hardware have security features that are built into them, and they're known as technical protection measures or digital locks. These locks prevent the play of any unauthorized game. Simply, if a video game console's firmware runs a verification check on a game and it is not a legitimate copy, the video game won't play the game, excuse me. Finally, just wanted to jump to any state effort that makes unlocking these tools available to unauthorized independent repair shops is at odds with federal law. As the digital locks are necessary for combating piracy, the U.S. Copyright Office said that there's no evidence to support the inclusion of consoles under general right to repair, and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act makes it actually illegal to traffic tools that can crack digital locks. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Carlisle and members of the committee. My name is Anna Powell, and I am the Director of State Government Affairs for CompTIA, the Computing Technology Industry Association. On behalf of the more than 2,000 members we represent, I'm here today to respectfully oppose Senate Bill 5799. CompTIA supports the ability of consumers to freely and safely repair their IT devices. However, we do not believe that SB 5799 is sound public policy. This legislation poses serious risks to the safety and security of the growing network of connected electronic products. Allowing unfettered access to anyone to parts, tools, technical manuals, and software to a broad range of electronic products represents real exposure to the safe and genuine repair of consumers' everyday products. It presents troubling unintended consequences, including serious cybersecurity, privacy, and safety risks, mass copyright infringement, and hurdles to innovation. We have heard concerns from the environmental community. Our members value the environment and are proud of the steps they take to keep obsolete and broken devices out of the landfills. They design their products with the expectation that they will receive them back at the end of their life so that they can be recycled or properly disposed of. This leads to a new and innovative uses of technology that allow devices to generate the least amount of e-waste possible. Our members are required to participate in the Washington State Pass e-cycle program, and many have created their own robust e-waste programs, allowing citizens to recycle old electronic devices for free. If SB 5799 were to take effect, there is no guarantee that these same devices and parts would be recycled. Finally, no state has enacted legislation like SB 5799. Washington should resist unwarranted intervention in the marketplace with one-size-fits-all mandates that compromise consumer safety and protection and make the proper recycling and disposal of electronic devices less certain. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Questions? Senator Stanford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of quick points. I heard it said here that there are many options currently for repair. When I had a fan break in my Xbox, I only had one option. I had to send it back to Microsoft. I had to wait several weeks. It was expensive. And then I got back a unit which was probably not the same unit I sent in. Obviously, they wipe all the data and say that you don't have any problem restoring all your accounts. And maybe it's actually harder than that. My point here is that this is about competition. There's no competition. If there's competition, then people would have to try to get that console repaired more quickly. They'd have to get it back to me in a way that I wanted as a consumer. So I wanted to kind of probe into that. I recognize the need for protecting digital copyright, and I think that's absolutely legitimate, but a broken fan is not part of that. When a pad on my Xbox controller gets worn because it's old, I don't see a copyright problem with taking the thing apart and putting in a new pad. Why do I have to get a super special screwdriver in order to do that? I think that's really the focus here. It's not about being able to get into every little electronic component in this thing. It's about being able to fix a USB port or a worn piece of rubber. So could you talk about that?
Briefly, please.
Senator, we recognize that this is an issue that many members of this body are concerned about. And we do look forward to having more robust conversations about this. Simply passing this legislation, we think, is ill-considered. We would like to have more robust conversations. I believe that we get to have that opportunity with some of the conversations that a number of us have had earlier this week. And your comments will be taken into serious consideration as we go on with that. But at this point, this is not something that we think that this committee nor the legislature should move.
Ken, too.
Other questions? Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm trying to understand your issue. So there's a copyright issue. There's like an intellectual property rights issue. Is that your main concern? And we have any examples of this being a real threat where repair shops have pirated, proprietary information and stolen it and tried to sell it to other places? I'm trying to understand your issue, because I'm kind of with these guys. I got 3 layers with my car. I thought the car example was excellent. I can take it to the dealership and get it fixed. I can take it to my non-dealer repair shop who's certified, or I can take it to my neighbor Eddie and have him fix it, right? So I have all 3 layers that I can go through with my automobile, and I can make the decision that's best for me. So unless you guys can show like a real risk to copyright infringement and digital theft, piracy, those types of things, I don't really understand why we wouldn't let everybody have a crack at fixing my phone when it breaks instead of me having. Everybody has a horror story on this, I guess. I don't even have an Xbox. I don't know what it looks like. But when I take my computer, and it's the same thing. It's like, well, can't fix it. Got to send it in. Got to buy a new one. So is there? That's the part. I do understand if you can prove a real threat to your intellectual property.
I'll just briefly address this. Thank you for that, Senator. I do want to say our products that my technology companies are working on are meticulously designed, and they are using the highest caliber parts. And I would love to follow up with you and have some of them sit down and sort of walk through the process that some of these devices take. It's a lot different than when we're just replacing the battery in our our remote controls, although those are also becoming increasingly complicated, and I understand that. So, but I do take that concern very seriously, and I'd love to connect you with some of my companies after the committee.
Okay, final questions. Senator Elias.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just building off the ranking member's question, do I own this phone? I mean, it sounds like when I buy it, my intention, my understanding was I pay you money, it's now mine. But it sounds like there's some lasting commitment where, am I renting it from the company? Like, why do I have some obligation back to you? If I go buy a pencil at Office Depot, they don't come tell me how I can use my pencil or where I can take my pencil, and I get to do whatever I want with it. Why is it different? Especially because my iPhone costs a little bit more than a pencil at Office Depot does. How is this relationship different than when I buy other products in the marketplace?
Senator, clearly there are a lot of issues that we need to walk through.
We'll talk about it later.
What I will say
Security.
is that supercomputer that's in your pocket, which you say is an iPhone, there's a warranty that goes along with that, and there's an authorized network of people that are
Get it out.
who know how to repair that phone and do it under warranty so that you can still feel confident that what you're getting back is a phone that does not have TikTok put onto it, doesn't raise some of the data privacy questions that I think this very committee is wrestling with right now, and things that I think that when you get that back, you should feel assured that you're not going to have some kind of a compromise in that particular device that's in your pocket. So there are some, I absolutely actually agree with Senator Rolfes in that we should be educating our future students to create the cobblers of the future, which is digital technology. I happen to have an opportunity to be at the Consumer Electronics Show down in Las Vegas this year, and what's coming your way is really quite amazing. And I think that we should all be spending more time and educating more of our students in computer technology. I think it ought to be done in the middle school so we can capture all the students early on. I think that we ought to be pushing that in this state. We're a leader in this state. For this conversation, we need to have a serious discussion about how we go forward on this. And I know we're going to have that opportunity.
So let me just interrupt you there. We need to wrap up this panel. We need to move along this. But I do encourage, I hope you can hear that there's a strong desire to have those stakeholder conversations, a lot of support for this broad issue. So if you guys could work on that. With that, we'll invite the next panel up. And I'm going to ask folks, I know some folks have traveled, I'm going to ask you to be respectful of time, as you can imagine. Doing our best. Thank you. Good morning, and please go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I wanted to thank Mr. Nguyen from my district, Senator Nguyen, for bringing this to the floor. My name is Owen Rubel. I'm an original member of Amazon, and I wanted to address some of the issues that the former panel brought up, like, for instance, the issue of safety. For one, I know, for instance, there are a lot of things that we can repair in the home, like, for instance, our microwave, our refrigerator, our car, like, for instance, we brought up. But some of those things that we already can repair are extremely dangerous. I can make an EMP device from a microwave. I can unleash the Freon from our refrigerator. I can drive a car into a crowd of people. All of these devices that we already can repair are extraordinarily dangerous, but that's not an excuse for repairing these devices. We can all repair these devices and learn and build new and better things from them. And in fact, my father used to do this. Google used to do this. In the 1960s, we had hardware, computers, that actually ran the end of life for the software that we had for them. And we used that hardware and built supercomputers for them. We actually call them the cloud now. And I brought an example of that. This is what the cloud looks like today. I demoed this at System 76, a Linux computer company. And this actually shows what we should be doing. We should be teaching children how to rip apart our computers and build bigger and better computers. Because if we don't show them what the inside of a computer is and how to build it and how to rip it apart and what it is inside of there, then that's a disadvantage to our children and our children's future. The children in other countries are going to do that, and only children in Taiwan are going to know about computers and how to build them. And our children are going to be disadvantaged as a result of that. There's no excuse that we shouldn't be doing this. If you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Good morning and welcome. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Carlisle and members of the Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee for the opportunity to testify here today. My name is Tara Wheeler. I was born at Madigan Army up the road. I live in Seattle, possibly Seattle traffic, and I'm here today to speak in support of Senate Bill 5799. I'm a Cybersecurity Policy Fellow with New America. I started in computers by building Pentium machines after school for my stepdad's computer repair company. I have been a Linux systems administrator, an architect for secure systems, a senior cybersecurity executive at 2 large publicly traded security corporations, and I am an offensive information security researcher. That's how you pronounce hacker when you're testifying in front of a legislative committee. One of the opposition arguments given by our manufacturers is that right to repair represents a threat to the security of our devices. As a cybersecurity expert, I can tell you that if taking your iPhone apart represents a serious threat to the safety and security of communications in this country, we should be talking right now in an underground situation room and not on public access television in the 13th most populous U.S. state. While on many levels I am an Apple fan, clearly, especially due to their strong and repeated commitment to secure encryption without creating backdoors that would inevitably lead to foreign penetration and mass surveillance, engineer every bit of software on the phone or access private data. Apple and Google can still design phones that protect user security while allowing private repairs. We have real geopolitical problems in cybersecurity, and we should be asking companies to answer questions about data security, not about supply chain components that are easily physically testable and examinable. Thank you again to Chair Carlisle and the members of the committee for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have now and after the hearing.
Thank you so much. And just for folks, we assume that if people come up to public to testify that you're open to questions. Everyone often says that, so there's no need to say that. I just need to ask people, we have a lot of bills, been very generous with time. People have taken advantage of it. I understand some people travel, so I am sensitive to folks who travel, but we're going to move it along. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sally Wolf. I'm testifying in support of Senate Bill 5799. I'm the board chair of Zero Waste Washington, and we work to change systems so that fewer items go in the landfill and more of what we call trash is reused, recycled, and repaired. Every item that is repaired or recycled instead of thrown away helps preserve natural resources and reduces our exposure to toxic chemicals. We haven't talked about that much today, but it's gotten much harder and in many cases impossible to repair items that break. And that's why we're asking for your help. The statistics are astounding. I thought we would have heard more statistics this morning, but we have 2.3 million households in Washington state. Every household owns 30 gadgets, 69 million pieces of potential e-waste. You know, the amount, that's like 10 million pieces of e-waste that are going into the trash stream every year. It's remarkable. I grew up in a family where we never threw anything away, and my father tinkered endlessly, and we all learned how to do that too. You know, as people have said before me, that those times are over. And if we can't get your microwave fixed quickly or your phone fixed quickly, you're going to throw it away. And this is just crazy. So I encourage you to help make it easier for us consumers to get things repaired so we can lower the impact of the use of the equipment we have. And Microsoft, in closing, I'll just say, Microsoft has just announced that they promise to be carbon negative within the decade, which is an extraordinary move. I mean, we should all be just thrilled by this. And I have to think that passing this bill would help Microsoft attain this ambitious goal. And I hope you agree with me and pass this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a privilege to be here. I'm Bob Akers with the Boston.
Kim, I am going to let folks know we have a number of issues to get